Hi everyone. What I'm going to be showing you how to do in this video is how to insert a graph into a practical report. So what I've got here is my made up practical report, but I've done 4 tests at 4 different temperatures. And what I've done is I've measured 4 different reaction times in seconds. Now this is just an example, but this method works anytime you've changed something that's a number, so your independent variable is a number, and the thing that you've measured must also be a number, so that's your dependent variable, so the thing that you've measured is a number as well. So if the thing that you changed wasn't a number, then this method won't work. Okay, so what you can see here, I've already put my table in. Just note in my heading I've got the units, so degrees Celsius and seconds, and then in my table I've just got numbers, so that's just something important as well in your practical reports that makes it easier to read. Now I've got my results graph section here, so what I'm going to do to put a graph in, I'm not actually going to use Excel, I'm going to do this all through Word. And that will actually embed some Excel data inside of Word, so I don't have to have 2 separate documents. It's all in the one document. So I'm going to click on Insert at the top and then click on Chart. Now this is really important. You might be tempted to go for a line graph, but we're actually going to want an XY scatter graph because that's the more scientific version of that graph. And it gives us a really accurate scientific plot. So I'm going to click on OK for the first option there, and it'll take a moment here, and you'll see what it does is it embeds the graph into my Word document, and it brings up an Excel document on the right with just some made up numbers, and we're going to replace those numbers with our real measurements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change X values to temperature, which was my independent variable. So your independent variable is always your X values. And then for Y values, I'm going to type in reaction time because that's my dependent variable. And your dependent variable should always be your Y values. And then I'm just going to enter in my data again. So 10, 20, 35, and 53. Note that this blue box automatically becomes bigger when I type that in. If it doesn't, you can always grab this little corner and resize it so that it's getting all of your data. And then I'm just going to enter in my reaction times. So these are just the same numbers from the table over on the left. If you wanted to be really efficient, you could copy and paste. But I'm happy just typing them. And you can see what it's done now is it's actually created this graph over here. So I'm going to close out of Excel. So that's saved all of that information into my document now. And it's just plotted the markers to start with. So I'm just going to do a few more things to this graph. So first of all, because I've only got one set of data, I'm going to delete this little legend on the side. You'd only need that if you were plotting 2 different colors or 2 different sets of data. So I'll just press delete on the keyboard. Then I'm going to click on the graph, click on layout at the top, and I'm going to add in some axes titles. So these are labels. So I'm going to go horizontal, title below, and I'm going to key in temperature and put my units as well. So if I insert a symbol, I can get the degrees sign. And then I'm going to click my graph again and go layout, axes titles, vertical, and I'll give it a rotated title. So this one was reaction time in seconds, but you would type whatever it was that you measured if it was something different. And I'm going to change the title up the top to reaction time versus temperature. Okay, so there's just one more thing I want to add. I've got my little markers here, but I want to show the general trend of this data. What's happening to reaction time as the temperature increases? So I'm going to right click on one of those little dots, click on Add Trendline, and there's a few options here, and you can have a look and see what fits that nicely. But generally you might want to look first of all at a linear trend line. So that's just showing a straight line relationship between those two measurements. So you can see in this case that fits fairly well. I can also choose, if I wish, to display an equation, and that just shows me the mathematical equation for that line if you were wanting to really get into the details of it. And that's about it. So this gives me my graph. It's got all of my information on there. It's got a trend line, it's got axis labels with units, and it's got a title. Okay, thanks very much for watching.